So, towards the end, and he had this wonderful genealogy chart that he showed last week, and I stole it from him. I'm sure he had taken it from somebody else. But you'll notice that we're going to start with Isaac and Rebekah, and they have two boys, Jacob and Esau. And we're going to go on from there. In the 24th chapter of Genesis, the 67th verse, it reads, Isaac brought her into the tent of his mother Sarah, and he married Rebekah. So she became his wife. He loved her, and Isaac was comforted by his mother's death. In Genesis 25:20, Isaac is 40 years old when he marries Rebekah. And by the way, I'm taking you through 150 years of Bible history in about 25 minutes. He prayed that Rebekah would get pregnant. They hit the daily double with twins. Rebekah's not sure what's happening in her womb. She inquired of the Lord God, and he responded in Genesis 25:23. Two nations are in your womb. Two peoples from within you will be separated. One people will be stronger than the other. The older will serve the younger. At birth, the first was red and hairy. They named him Esau, which means hairy. He was also called Edom, which means red. The second was named Jacob, which means he grasps his heel. It's a Hebrew saying for he deceives. When the twins Jacob and Esau were born, Abraham was 160 years old. He would have been 60. At age 15, the twins would have been witness to Abraham's death. Abraham would have been 175, while Isaac was 75. The twins grow up. Esau becomes a skilled hunter, while Jacob becomes a shepherd, manager, cook. We next find that Isaac loved Esau because he was a hunter, and Isaac liked wild game. We also learn that Rebekah loved Jacob. In case you're wondering, it's a bad idea to have favorites. Things have a funny way of working out. The scene in Genesis 25:29 is probably not at Isaac's camp or home, but rather at a shepherd's camp where Jacob is grazing sheep and goats. Jacob was probably the camp master overseeing the shepherds, cooking, and whatever else needed to be done. When Esau stumbles into camp, he explains he is about to die. There's a difference between hunting and getting. Hunting means you walk with a bow or a gun. Dwayne's cracking up. He knows what I'm talking about. Getting means that you're a good shot. You drag the results of that shot back to your camp, and you enjoy the results of your work. Apparently, Esau hunted without getting. He's hungry. Jacob takes advantage of his brother and gets him to sell his birthright. So a birthright, usually the firstborn receives a greater share from the father, as he is expected to become the family leader, which means he will be responsible for all the members, including his mother, the unwed sisters, the care of the deceased. Responsibility comes greater resources. When Jacob negotiated the purchase of the birthright in chapter 25:29 through 34, it is not clear that the additional responsibilities come along with the purchase. In other words, he's just going for the bucks. It is likely that it only involves that extra share. The leadership or the blessing is given in chapter 27. Esau didn't value the birthright, so he sold it to Jacob for a bowl of soup and some bread. I don't know why. Maybe he didn't care. He didn't think ahead. He didn't want the responsibility. Didn't want to be a leader. You decide. The next event of interest is found in Genesis 26 and 34. When Esau is 40 years old, he married Judith, daughter of Beri the Hittite, and also Basemath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite. They were a source of grief to Isaac and Rebekah. While there's no real rule about who to marry at this time, there is an example of marrying someone who is at least in the same clan. Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rebekah, and soon it will be Jacob, Leah, Rachel, and their nurses. Starting in the 27th chapter, we have the story of the second ripoff by Jacob and his mother, Rebekah. Isaac is about 132 years old at this point. The twins are 77. Isaac can't see. He's old. So he's got 50 years left thereabouts. His desire to transfer the leadership of the clan to Esau, his oldest and favorite. Rebekah has a different plan and helps Jacob deceive his father. As we know, this doesn't set well with Esau. Genesis 27:41. Esau held a grudge against Jacob because of the blessing his father had given him. And he said to himself, "The days of mourning for my father are near. Then I will kill my brother." I'm feeling the love. Rebekah hears about the plan and tells Jacob to run. Jacob, before he leaves, Isaac commands Jacob to marry someone from his mother's clan. Genesis 28:1-3. So Isaac called Jacob and blessed him. Then he commanded him, "Do not marry a Canaanite woman. Go on to Paddan Aram and to the house of your mother's father, Bethuel. Take a wife for yourself there from among the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. May God Almighty bless you and make you fruitful and increase your numbers until you become a community of peoples." Jacob takes off. Esau hears about his father's command to Jacob to marry someone other than a Canaanite. So he goes to Ishmael, marries Mahalatha, and who is Ishmael's granddaughter, disrespecting Isaac and Rebekah once again. Think about this, though. Isaac, or rather Esau, is still at home. Jacob is one. Who do you think is in charge of the clan at this point? Isaac's old. So it's probably going to be Esau. And Esau has time to make his own kingdom. It will be called Edom. Jacob left Beersheba in Genesis 28:10, and he goes about 50 miles. He stops for the night and sleeps on a rock and has a dream about a stairway to heaven with angels going up and down, with God at the top. In Genesis 28:14, it reads, "Your descendants will be like the dust of the earth. You will spread out to the west and to the east and to the north and the south. All the peoples on earth will be blessed through you and your offspring. I am with you and will watch over you wherever you go. I will bring you back to this land. I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised you." Jacob is receiving a blessing from God, or a covenant with God. 28 in Genesis 28:18-22, Jacob makes a vow to God. He changes the name of the city from Luz to Bethel, which means house of God. 18. Early the next morning, Jacob took the stone he had placed under his head. Anybody here up for putting a stone under your head to sleep on? That just never made sense to me. That's what he did. Anyway, he took the stone that he used as a pillow, poured oil on top of it, and he called that Bethel, though the city used to be called Luz. Then Jacob made a vow, saying, "If God will be with me and watch over me in this journey I am taking, and will give me food to eat and clothes to wear, so that I return safely to my father's household, then to the Lord will be my God. And this stone I have set up as a pillar will be God's house, and all that you give me, I will give you a tenth." So we have here a covenant in response to that covenant. In Genesis 24:67, oops, I went backwards. Imagine that. Chapter 29 opens with Jacob arriving at Padan Aram, where he meets Rachel, who came out to water her sheep. When Jacob's uncle Laban hears the news of Jacob's arrival, he hurries out to meet him and brings him home. After about a month of living with Laban, Jacob, who has no money for a bride price, strikes a deal trading 7 years of labor for Rachel. The bride price in these days averaged 30 to 40 shekels. Normal pay for a month would be 1 shekel. So Jacob is paying 84 shekels, or twice as much, for the bride. He was in love. He made a bad, he did what he did. He's about 84 when the wedding is held. Uncle Laban substitutes Leah for Rachel, saying that it's the custom for the older daughter to marry first. Jacob protests, and a second deal is struck. The bride price is another 7 years of work for Laban, but he would get Rachel now as well as their nurses, Zilpah and Bilhah. And Jacob thought he had so he is at 84 with essentially 4 wives, and soon he will have 11 sons and a daughter. Joseph is born when Jacob is 91. So you do the math. 91 minus 84 is 7. In about 7 years, Jacob has 12 children by 4 different women. I call that a busy household. The rest of the chapter 30 talks about the deal he makes with Laban. After the birth of Jacob, in 25 and 26, it reads, after Rachel gave birth to Joseph, Jacob said to Laban, send me on my way so I can go back to my homeland. Give me my wives and my children for whom I have served you, and I will be on my way. You know how much I have done for you. Laban has a little bit different idea. In 31 through 35, here's the new deal. What shall I give you, he asked. Don't give me anything, Jacob replied, but do this one thing for me, and I will go on tending your flocks and watching over them. Let me go through all your flocks today and remove every speckled or spotted sheep, every dark-colored lamb, and every spotted or speckled goat. They will be my wages, and my honesty will testify for me in the future. Whatever from the wages you have paid me. Go to my possession that is not speckled or spotted, and that is not dark will be considered stolen. Agreed, said Laban. Let it be as you have said. So that same day he removed all the male goats that were streaked or spotted, and all the speckled and spotted female goats. All of them had white on them. And all the dark-colored lambs he placed them under the care of his sons. So the deal here is the dark-colored animals were the preferred. Jacob's taken the unpreferred, supposedly. The remainder of the chapter tells how Jacob manipulated the herds in his favor so that Laban had weak animals and Jacob had strong ones. In Genesis 30 and 34, it reads, in this way the man grew exceedingly prosperous and came to own large flocks of female and male servants and camels and donkeys. In chapter 31, Jacob notices that Uncle Laban's attitude changes. His sons noticed that Jacob was really doing well and had gained great wealth. I'll get it out here in a minute. God tells Jacob, it's time for you to go back to the land of your fathers and relatives, and I will be with you. Jacob tells the wives, it's time to go. Jacob leaves without telling Laban. Rachel steals her household gods. Laban figures it all out. He's Jacob. Now we have a picture of one old man who's 97 running away from his father-in-law who's probably 150. Laban catches up with Jacob in the hill country of Gilead, and Laban is extremely disturbed with Jacob. But God speaks to him. In Genesis 31 and 24, then God came to Laban, the Aramean, in a dream at night and said to him, "Be careful not to say anything to Jacob, either good or bad." Laban expresses his displeasure and accuses Jacob of stealing his God, little g, okay? Jacob says he doesn't have Laban's God, and Laban searches and comes up empty because of Rachel's deception. Laban and Jacob agree that Jacob will take no more wives and not attack Laban. Laban agrees not to attack Jacob. Then Laban blesses the kids and rides off. In chapter 32, Jacob is preparing to meet Esau by sending messengers to him. At this point, he probably assumes they didn't have email, right? Okay? Didn't have email. I know that's news to a lot of y'all. Jacob assumes that Isaac has probably died. And because he would have been gone, Esau would have inherited everything because Jacob was gone. Jacob prepares to meet his brother, hoping one, he wants to tell Esau that, hey, I've been with Uncle Laban with him, and I'm not hiding from you. Two, I've got a lot of possessions, and I'm not coming to take your wealth. And three, I'm hoping that we can put the past in the past and leave it there and move forward. Jacob knows that there are 400 men coming with Esau and has no idea of their intent. So he divides things up. And by doing this, he solves a lot of problems. Number one, there are 400 mercenaries coming. Are they expecting plunder? So Jacob divides his family into five groups of animals, which will slow down the 400 and prevent an ambush. As the gift arrives, first of all, Esau is going to have to accept each of these gifts. And so the first gift is 200 goats, and so that gets integrated into his following there. And then next comes 200 ewes, then 40 cows, then 20 donkeys, and the servants and everything that goes along with this. So in a sense, Jacob is really slowing down any progress, any chance of ambush that Esau might be perpetrating on Jacob. So the other thing that occurs in chapter 32 is Jacob wrestles with God. I can't imagine a 97-year-old wrestling with anything, let alone God. Most scholars suggest that this was not a spiritual wrestle or a physical wrestle. It was a spiritual situation. Whatever it was, in the end, God wins. Doesn't he always? Yeah, he always wins. And to remind Jacob that God won, he limps away from the encounter. Jacob meets Esau in 33 through 1 through 4, and the meeting goes much better than Jacob expected. Jacob doesn't trust Esau and rejects his help in driving the herds and tells him to go ahead and go home. Esau goes back to Seir. Jacob goes to Succoth, buys land, sets up camp. There's about 130 miles between them. In Genesis 35, God tells Jacob to move to Bethel. Remember, he changed the name of Luz to Bethel. That's where he's going to go back to. 35:1. Then God said to Jacob, go to Bethel and settle there. Build an altar to God there, who appeared to you fleeing from your brothers. Jacob said to his and all who were with him, get rid of your gods you have and purify yourselves and change your clothes. It's interesting to me that he buried them under a tree, buried all those idols under a tree. They didn't go any farther. God was purifying his people. This is just one example of it. throughout the Old Testament. We are going to Bethel. We're going to build an altar. Jacob, or God blesses Jacob, reaffirms his name change to Israel and promises him the land of Canaan. In Genesis 35, 16 through 18, Rachel is pregnant with Benjamin. She has a difficult birth and dies. Jacob names his son Benjamin, which means son of my right hand. In verses 27 and 29, we read, Jacob came home to his father Isaac in Merimee near Hebron, where Abram and Isaac had stayed. Isaac lived to be 180 years old, and he breathed his last and died and was gathered to his people, old and full of years. His son Esau and Jacob buried him there. After the burial of Isaac, Esau moved to what becomes known as Edom. Genesis 36, 6 through 8. Esau took his wives, his sons, and daughters, and all the members of his household, as well as his livestock, and all the other animals, and all the other goods that he had acquired, and moved to the land some distance. Their possessions were too great for them to remain together. So the land where they were staying could not support them both because of their livestock. So Esau, that is Edom, settled in the hill country of Seir. It is recorded in the Bible that Jacob lived to be 147 years. Externally, it is also recorded that Esau lived to be 147 years old. So that's the story of the twins. So what do we take away from this story? Throughout history, God has used people with all their flaws to bring him glory. God had a plan then, and he has a plan now. God achieves his plan, and it's difficult for us to understand sometimes, but that's not our job. Our job is to believe in God. God is always there. Do what he says. Long, hard work is not bad. God uses people of his choosing to do amazing things. Mom and dad need to work together. So do brothers, so do sisters in the family and in the church. We need to love each other. What a great song. Together and be at peace with each other. Learn to forgive. God has given us, and we are to be like God, striving to be perfect. God is perfect. God doesn't give up on us. We give up on God. So, I think I met my goal. I covered 150 years in about 25 minutes. The lesson is not about baptism this morning. It's about following God, which is about baptism. God wants to save people. He sent his son, Jesus. Put him on a cross. We remembered that this morning. Put him on a cross. He died for us. He shed his blood. What a wonderful gift. If you want to be part of that, you have to be baptized. It's very clear in the Bible, multiple times, multiple places. You have to be baptized. If you want to do that, we can take care of that. If you need the prayers of this church, come as we stand and sing.